The Oklahoma City Thunder might be the most unique NBA champions of all time, with most of the dudes barely able to legally drink. Obviously, championships are won by athletes going out there and executing, putting the ball in the bucket, or going out there and getting tuds. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, you had SGA, Finals MVP, regular season MVP, scoring title winner. But before you ever step foot on the court, you gotta be there in the first place. Who matters more, an elite coach or an elite GM in today's NBA or NFL? All right, it'd be dumb to not say that there are differences between the NBA and the NFL. For starters, the NBA has smaller rosters, right? They have 15 players on a team, 5 playing at a time, and the stars dominate everything. The player empowerment is incredibly high, so stars like LeBron James get to influence roster moves, systems, and even coaching hires. But in this league, a great GM can do a lot to help develop the next dynasty. So they manage trades, contracts, picks that have long-term ripple effects. But finding that one superstar could change everything for that franchise. Now, the NFL is a different animal. You have larger 53-man active rosters, and each position within that roster is heavily and highly specialized. With that comes less player control unless you're the Tom Brady's or the Pat Mahomes, and even then, it's a question mark as to how much influence they have on a team and their mechanics. In this league, systems and schemes define success, and with that, a brilliant coach can elevate average talent. And to add to the differences between the two leagues, injuries and talent parity really tighten the window of success for these franchises. So coaching continuity is hypercritical for forming and hopefully sustaining success. So clearly, we're already seeing it. The NBA is about managing a few elite talents, while the NFL is about managing and executing a complex system across dozens of roles. So that changes how we value an elite GM versus an elite coach, depending on the league. With that, there are a whole lot of similarities between the two at the same time. Tackling the NBA first, you just have to look at Sam Presti. After the Durant, Westbrook, and Harden era ended, he turned aging stars into draft capital so that he could acquire guys like Chet Holmgren, SGA, and Jalen Williams. And somehow, he's still sitting on picks over the next 5 years after this week's NBA draft. And hopping over to the NFL, look at Howie Roseman and what he's done with the Philadelphia Eagles. In the past 7 years, he's built a Super Bowl winning roster, tore it down, and then built another. This time, he did it with a new quarterback, a new head coach with a different philosophy, a new offensive identity, and a totally reloaded defense. He's a master of seeing salary cap not as a wall, but a puzzle. In today's game, that level of foresight is like a superpower. 2 Super Bowls in 7 years? Nuts. So both leagues are driven by rosters and salary cap math, which have restrictions depending on the sport. And the GM is the one that's pulling those strings and making those decisions. But talent without leadership or development can lead to a whole lot of crushed dreams and a lot of wasted money. You can have all the draft steals, all the star players, and do all the fancy financial footwork you want. But if you don't have the right coach and coaching staff to hold it together, it'll never work. Today's elite coaches aren't just drawing up plays. Let's be honest, athletes today aren't the same as they used to be. So coaches have to change as well. They're more like culture shapers, people ego managers. So take Eric Spoelstra, head coach of the Miami Heat. He's taken teams full of misfits and turned them into finals contenders by instilling toughness, discipline, belief. You know, those are kind of old school. He's not just adjusting rotations or doing the X's and O's. He's building a mindset that allows guys to play like all-stars. In the NFL, you got guys like Mike Tomlin, as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's never had a losing record. And yeah, you'll get yinzers coming from the top rope talking about how they haven't won since 7 left and the playoffs have been abysmal over the past few years, which is true. But think about that. In a game that has such talent parity, the Steelers have never had a losing season in years. Through quarterback changes, injuries, scheme overhauls, he still gets it done. And that's just not X's and O's. That's culture. That's leadership. That's a coach making a group of 53 individuals believe they're on one team and part of a culture. And the Kansas City Chiefs' Andy Reid is another prime example. His offensive genius lifted every QB he's ever coached, from Donovan McNabb to Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. And his ability to think creatively, adapt, lead, and evolve helped build the Chiefs into the dynasty they are today. So this whole debate is really just a chicken or the egg situation. But depending on the era, or even the league, one might outweigh the other. Coming fresh out of a rewatch of The Last Dance, look at the 90s Bulls. You had Jerry Krause as GM of the Chicago Bulls. He built the team. He made unpopular but smart trades throughout that entire tenure. But it was really Phil Jackson who managed massive egos on the team. Think about it. You had perennial all-stars like Scottie Pippen, the GOAT, Michael Jordan, the Worm, Dennis Rodman. And he implemented the triangle offense and held the locker room together through a dynastic pressure. And what's even crazier is the guy didn't just do it at the Bulls. He did it again at the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. The NFL might be even messier when you look at it. Take the 49ers of the 1980s. You had Bill Walsh, who was both head coach and GM. He drafted Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, then revolutionized the game of the West Coast offense. He literally was the blueprint and the builder. Or take the more recent example of the New England Patriots dynasty, with Bill Belichick essentially serving as both GM and head coach. And when it worked, especially with Tom Brady, it was historic. But when Brady dipped and Belichick the GM couldn't supply Belichick the head coach with talent, the entire machine started to stall. So circling back, in the NBA, you have max contracts and a soft cap where players hold more leverage. They can demand trades. They can form super teams and essentially dictate roster direction. A singular superstar like LeBron James can transform a franchise overnight. In the NFL, with a hard cap and a 53-man roster, there's more talent parity and less wiggle room. So coaching schemes and systems have a much bigger impact. Injuries are common, far less guaranteed money, and ultimately team culture matters far more, because in the game of football, it's much harder for one player to carry a team to victory, which places a bigger premium on coaching player cohesion. While the dream scenario is a true partnership like Andy Reid and Brett Veach at Kansas City, the elite GM has usurped the head coach to become the most critical figure in long-term success. An elite coach can elevate players they're given, like Mike Tomlin has done it for nearly 2 decades. Eric Spoelstra has turned good teams into great ones. But they can't manufacture or develop a superstar until the GM finds that raw talent and gets them into the building. The GM sets a table and buys all the ingredients. The coach cooks and serves the meal. Would you rather have a brilliant coach like Mike Tomlin or Eric Spoelstra or Andy Reid, or a visionary GM like Howie Roseman or Sam Presti? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.